Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I will call this meeting to order. If you could please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before I turn it over to the principals and the superintendent, little agenda item here. We have the Board of Ed members here in the front row. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Nancy, second. Mark? Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, thank you. So again, thank you for coming and supporting this. The principals and the superintendent last week did a little preview, and I was just kind of joking with them. I chose not to come. I wanted to see this for the first time as all you are seeing it. So I will turn it over to our superintendent. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I know there's, as these fall days, the weather being nice, I know there's a lot going on in town with soccer and everything like that. So the fact that you've taken time out of your busy schedules to join us is very much appreciated. So tonight, our presentation, The State of the Schools, is a very sincere look at what our schools do best today. It's a realistic look as well at the areas in which we need to grow tomorrow. And it's a bold look ahead 10 years to 2030 to determine where we need to be to make sure that the children of this community are among the most competitive in the state as they apply for college or if they choose to go right into the world of exciting new careers. 10 years may sound too far into the future to plan. However, class of 2030 is in our schools now. They are our second grade students. The focus of tonight is our academic offerings. We often celebrate our athletic teams, our activities, our community service, our arts, our music, our theater offerings, as well we should. And they are certainly incorporated as curricular areas, and much we say tonight does apply to them. But in this presentation, we will focus on the day-to-day classroom experiences of our children now and in the future. Also, please note, this is not a budget presentation. At no time are we addressing the cost or financial implications of anything we discuss or present tonight. We're presenting a truthful look at where we are and what I feel is an exciting and compelling future for our students, our teachers, and our families at the East Hampton Public Schools. Regarding the presentation, the section that talks about our future, they're my thoughts and currently do not necessarily represent the thoughts of the Board of Education, but ultimately, everyone will have their say in the future of our schools. Education in this state benefits from a great deal of local control, and there are state mandates and federal mandates, but for the most part, education is in the hands of the families and the elected official of each community. So our goal tonight is for you to be energized so that together we partner to literally create the future, a future that suits East Hampton with our schools and our community linked for the good of our children. We will have public comment at the end, and while we do not have time for questions, I invite you to come to the Superintendent's Advisory Council meeting on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. or Friday morning coffee at 7:30 a.m. and ask every question that you have. Make suggestions, challenge anything you hear, and volunteer for the project we are explaining at the end of the program. Before I begin, I just want to make sure everybody knows our panel tonight. On your right, starting from your right, Mr. Eric Werner, our new high school principal. Eric, thank you for being here tonight. Jason Lehman, middle school principal. Chris Sullivan, center school principal. Andy Gonzalez, Memorial School principal. And to my right and your left, Mary Clark, our Director of Curriculum, will also present tonight. So we are diving right now into the state of our schools. I'm drawn to a book that we'll share at our Superintendent's Advisory Council, and I hope that the community decides to read this book. It's called Second Nature, How Parents Can Use Neuroscience to Help Kids Develop Empathy, Creativity, and Self-Control. It's written by a neuroscientist who has taken her thoughts, applied them to research, and what she is telling us is that to prepare our kids for future lives in a computer-dominated world, we need to hone skills in our kids that are vastly different from the things that computers can do now and will be able to do in the future. In fact, a quick quote, if I could just take a minute. We have to incorporate things like flexibility, rulemaking, and problem solving into our school curricula and our homes. We have to de-emphasize procedure and facts. And we need to give our kids practice, tons of practice, during the uniquely human things that still elude computers, like the capacities to surprise, to empathize, to create, and to love. The handout that we gave you is a copy of the profile of the East Hampton graduate. And this is the set of skills that we are currently measuring in all of our schools and will continue to measure well into the future. We did not call it the vision of the East Hampton graduate. We called it the profile of the East Hampton graduate because we don't expect it to be a vision that we try to reach. It's a profile that we expect to reach at each level as the students move from school to school. So where did the skills originate? And throughout the night we will call attention to the profile. So if you don't have a copy, there is a copy in the music stand. But I want to make sure that people understand that the skills originated from us. These weren't skills that were handed to us by anybody. Through surveys, through various discussions that were done, both as we were developing the East Hampton 2025 and the high school was going through its NEASC accreditation process, these skills were chosen by us. In fact, what I'm most excited about is that when we did the survey, the number one word that came up was compassion. And notice that it's right at the top line, right at the top of the bell, in fact, as the number one skill we expect to hone in our students. So this is not something that's been handed to us by anybody else. These are skills that this community identified for its students. We have all the ownership in these skills in that profile of the graduate. Tony Wagner, I know a lot of you have read his book, The Global Achievement Gap. One of the comments he makes is fairly significant. He says, the rigor that matters most for the 21st century is demonstrated mastery of competencies. Lets people know that studying academic content is the means of developing the competencies, but not the goal, as it has been traditionally. In fact, he says, it's not what you know that matters any longer. It's what you can do with what you know. I think that's important to remember. And if you have not read this book, I have the old hardcover. It's out on paperback, many versions at this point. I encourage you to grab the Global Achievement Gap. In his book, he talks about these being called survival skills. A lot of times we call them the transferable skills. Some people have called them 21st century skills. Tony Wagner in his book calls them survival skills. We should not be calling them 21st century skills because it's highly likely that the elementary children in our schools are going to live into the 22nd century. So if you want to be really advanced, we could call them 22nd century skills. But I don't think we should limit these and say they are just 21st century skills. This is a fantastic quote in his Tony Wagner's follow-up book, Most Likely to Succeed. He says, these skills can and must be taught and assessed every day in class. So if you look at the profile of the graduate, he's not saying that these are skills that by just attending school, kids are going to become compassionate. By just attending school and being around caring adults, they're going to become active learners, creative learners, curiosity learners. He is saying that these skills must be taught Let me just take a quick quote from his book. We're not suggesting that these skills be taught instead of content knowledge. You cannot teach critical thinking without engaging students in rich and challenging academic content. The goal must be to choose the academic content selectively, so as to create the required foundation for lifelong learning without letting the quest for content coverage overwhelm the development of the core competencies. So I want to show you that content doesn't go away. In other words, math and reading, they don't go away. They're just not enough for the class of 2030 and beyond. So if you look at that profile of the graduate, the number one, and I explained how proud I am that this community selected compassion as the number one survey response when we asked, what do kids need when they graduate from East Hampton High School? And so we worked our way backwards and we decided, okay, if they develop caring at the Memorial School and empathy at the center school and then focus on responsibility at the middle school, that will lead to compassion at the high school. But not by accident, by purposeful assessments, discussions in class every single day. The second one focuses on creativity, imagination, all the way to innovation. And Time poll recently, creativity is key to competitiveness in a global economy. We can't assume that creativity is just relegated to art, music, and theater. Creativity is a key component of our classes. Perseverance. This is important to us because we know, and there's research, and I love this research, that students who have a strong academic mindset, who are focused on achievement, actually learn 19 more days of learning. There's 19 additional days of learning, or else, in essence, what's a month worth of school during a year. That's powerful research. And providing the academic mindset to our kids, it doesn't cost anything. It just makes sure that us as adults, as parents, that we are building up our students to persevere. It doesn't mean that we coddle them, but it means that we build up a mindset so that they are ready to persevere and achieve. And then our next one focuses on collaboration, everything from teamwork, community, perspectives, and I love the quote here, and this is again out of that Second Nature book by the neuroscience Erin Claybrook. She says that development of self-control is a very long process. We just don't do that in elementary school, and then our middle school students all of a sudden have self-control. As they grow and as their brains develop every step of the way, we have to make sure that we focus on self-control, as it leads to the ability to work in teams and collaborate ultimately. Here's our biggest implication, though, for schooling. That we have to produce active learners, that we have to produce students that wonder, who are curious, who know how to go after a project and stick with it. This is a quote from Albert Einstein, that learning is an experience. Everything else is just information. Our kids don't benefit from information. It's at their fingertips. What they benefit from is the experience that the learning requires. Content's sake for content is, we just cannot focus on that. We have to focus on giving our kids true learning, active learning, authentic learning experiences. So we've just gone through the profile of the graduate, so I'd like the principals to walk you through on currently what those profiles, what those skills in the profile look like in each of the schools.
We're now proud to showcase our students and the profile graduate in action. Kindness and caring is common at Memorial School. Our culture fosters acceptance and builds positive relationships. In this picture, you see a young learner comforting his friend at recess. We celebrate the smallest kind and caring acts, from greeting peers and adults with a smile to holding doors for each other. to larger collaborative efforts such as our toy drives, relief efforts for communities affected by natural disasters, and decorating wreaths for veterans. All classrooms conduct morning meetings to establish a strong sense of belonging and purpose. The second step curriculum is implemented and taught to all learners to further their understanding of what caring looks like. Laying the foundation for this trait is important so that our growing learners are able to transfer skills and understand how their actions impact others. Memorial teachers are committed to creating environments that allow our students to think about and explore ways to lead their own learning. Students are encouraged to find inventive solutions to problems across all settings at Memorial. In the workshop model, students are given voice and choice in activities and ways to demonstrate their learning. These personalized learning models engage students in topics of interest and give them opportunities to share their experiences. Students and teachers participate in purposeful play at Memorial. Playing is a developmentally appropriate means to gain knowledge, interact with one's environment, and grow peer relations. Our students are given time to create their own play environment and play centers or learning scenarios. Students plan, create, and design how they will interact with manipulatives or the environment. Our learners are successful because they have a belief in their own abilities and exude confidence. They confidently ask questions, accept challenges, and understand that failing is part of the learning process. Nurturing growth mindsets and creating a climate that supports all learners is essential. We build confidence through positive reinforcement and actionable feedback. We have a safe and structured environment that promotes academic risk-taking. Students and families are involved in setting learning targets and developing plans to attain them. We firmly believe that Memorial's learners can successfully meet the high expectations we have for them. Being a positive, contributing member of a team takes practice. We offer our students many opportunities in a variety of settings to develop this trait and to practice taking care of others. We share the belief that together, everyone achieves more. At Memorial, we work together, celebrate our success, listen to others, and cooperate to achieve common goals. By creating environments that are caring, imaginative, our confident and collaborative students are free to wonder. Our young learners begin their school journey with so many questions, and we are committed to stoking this curiosity. Students in the elementary school experience the joy of unlocking the magic of reading, writing, investigating, and problem solving. As our curriculum rolls out, we want our students to always wonder why. Teachers use questioning strategies to push our learners to think deeply. Students are given time to have conversations with each other, to share their wonders, and to learn from each other.
The center school community promotes a culture that is safe, positive, and supportive. While sometimes thought of as a supplemental skill, this is built into our core academic curriculum. First, analyzing thoughts, feelings, and actions of literary characters before turning inward. Putting practice into action, center school students have created a strong culture of empathetic practices, identifying needs in the community and working to raise awareness and support for others. Our goal is to develop graduates where acceptance is the norm. Creativity is such a natural process in our young learners. As educators, we work to channel the imaginations of our youngest learners and create an environment where learning promotes creativity over compliance. Shifting from a mindset of a single process to find a single answer, our practice aims to immerse students in an environment with no set procedure. The only limit to what our students produce is often the ceiling we create for them. By offering opportunities in all environments that allow students to explore multiple pathways to success, we celebrate this process. At center school, we look for our confident learners to take action and adjust to new situations. While routine and consistency are still in place at center, our students are faced with new social and academic challenges on a daily basis. Center school works to build a positive self-image along with the idea that your mindset, pushing a difficult task, may be just as important as your academic ability to solve that task. The definition of success may vary depending on the individual, but the constant is the fact that students will face adversity. By creating a supportive environment that continually asks students to push themselves, students will begin to foster a growth mindset. A successful team recognizes and celebrates differences while working together towards a common goal. The many student and adult communities at Center School contribute to the feeling that together we can achieve more. We take the next step of explicitly teaching community-building skills by offering opportunities for students to build community outside of their classroom. Through classroom, partnership, and grade-level communities, we celebrate our accomplishments and consistently recognize the good in others. We seek to create an environment of emotional and physical safety, as well as a sense of connectedness. Center School aims to place our students in an environment where they are able to have strong desire to learn and investigate. Through asking thought-provoking questions, our students are primed for investigating complex material. Asking questions of our students can spark this process, but to truly develop curiosity, students must be the ones who ask the questions. At Center School, we want to provide opportunities for students to pursue their passions and become curious enough to dig deeper and move from understanding to ownership.
Here's one of our students at East Hampton Middle School receiving an award from the Connecticut Association of Schools for citizenship by demonstrating responsibility for her community. As preteens and teens, middle schoolers are naturally egocentric. But as the HMS, we strive to show our students how we are all responsible for supporting our greater community. Here you see one of our students feverishly writing down a new idea for a challenge that was posed in class. Initiative is best taught through listening to students and finding ways to access their interest and their passions. For example, this young lady had a passion for the arts, and this former EHMS student was being recognized for sharing her passion in the arts by winning the Connecticut Silver Key Award. Here you see some of our middle schooler athletes determined to do their best at Panther Fest. Blue face is great. At EHMS, we not only practice resilience in athletics, but in our classrooms every day. Students and staff practice that failure is not an option, but it is a necessity to help us all grow and learn. Here, renowned speaker Kevin Booker helped our school, both staff and students, develop a year-long campaign to embrace each other's differences and to step up for one another. Teaching Perspectives is all about how we foster our students' ability to appreciate that there are many ways to see and interpret the world we live in. Here you see a student's presentation on becoming an expert bass fisherman. Little known fact, but he is actually the junior Connecticut State Bass Fish Champion. This is part of our mini capstone project, where through the project, our 8th graders research and become experts in their areas of intrigue. Inquiry is a skill that is taught very easily and integrated in science, but is actively taught in several other areas to foster growth of our problem solvers.
At East Hampton High School, the transferable skills of compassion, innovation, perseverance, collaboration, and active learning are utilized every day in every area of our school. Through compassion, our students demonstrate empathy, ethical behavior, and citizenship, as well as a cultural understanding. And this is exemplified by our students writing thank you notes to Agnes Bertis, who was a Holocaust survivor, who spoke to our 11th and 12th grade students prior to the annual Washington, D.C. trip. Our students innovate in every area of our building, especially in our science labs, where we ask students to identify problems, synthesize information from many sources, and apply new knowledge to create solutions. Our students persevere in the classroom, as well as the athletic fields, and in the arts, through the use of grit, to continue to work through a problem until the very end. This is transferable from our classrooms, again, to our athletic fields, and really into every aspect of our students' lives. Our students collaborate every single day. They work together to solve complex problems, and they learn to work as a team, be it on the athletic field, solving a math problem, working in the performance studio, or in their own lives outside of school. And finally, our students learn actively. They take what is learned in their classrooms, and they apply it through real-world experiences. These transferable skills they can take with them when they graduate from East Hampton High School apply to every area of life, no matter what their chosen pathway is upon graduation.
This is the one moment that I'm going to brag on behalf of the schools, especially for those outside of our school. The New England Association of Schools and Colleges, our accreditation bureau, believes in the vision of the graduate so much that it is now a requirement for all the schools, high schools, that are going through the accreditation process beginning in the year 2020. I'm proud that we are way ahead of a lot of schools that are just dipping their toes in and trying to come up with these terms. Not only have we come up with the terms, they've become part of our culture, and now we are actively assessing them in students. One of the goals for each of the buildings this year is not just pictures, but show us assessments where teachers are measuring these in the classroom. We'll be sharing that with the board later on. But we were able to visit with Ken Kay. Ken Kay is the national guru for the vision of the graduate, or portrait of the graduate, or profile of the graduate. He has his own website called portraitofthegraduate.org. We spent 4 days with him during the course of the year from 2017 to 2018. And each school had the opportunity to display their profile of the graduate and talk about it for a few minutes. And just happened to take his little sticky that he put next to ours. And every now and then I just pull that out to look at it. Because I really believe that the work we're doing is amazing. I urge you to go to Portrait of a Graduate and look at samples from around the country on what schools are doing with this. I don't think you'll see the matrix of skills that we have committed to. But we felt it was important not just to take the high school words and slap them on the walls of the elementary school and the center school. We wanted terms that were appropriate for those developmental learners, so ultimately they grow into the high school skills. Because it's an accreditation requirement, there are high schools that are just doing this in isolation of the rest of the district, which to me doesn't make sense. Kids don't just arrive to us. They come to us with 8 years of learning, 8 or 9 years of learning in back of them. And we want them to come to the high school prepared to really dive into those skills, not just be introduced to them for the first time. We're going to shift now our focus. We're going to talk about what our academic successes are in each building.
Memorial School is a community of learners. Our teachers implement the workshop model of instruction in reading, writing, and math. This student-centered approach has a gradual release of responsibility that builds student independence. This personalized instruction matches individual skill sets and interests. Through student choice, our learners are actively engaged and are able to transfer skills across subject areas. In an effort to meet the needs of each individual learner, Memorial has focused academic support blocks that provide classroom educators and interventionists with additional time for targeted instruction to close achievement gaps and extend learning. Our professional teams carefully examine multiple data points in weekly collaborative meetings to develop strategic and intensive instruction groups. These flexible groups run in continuous 6 to 8 week cycles. And through the focused instructional efforts of our teachers, the hard work of our students, and the support of our families, Memorial has been recognized as a school of distinction in back-to-back years. The Connecticut State Department of Education has recognized 160 schools out of 1,148 schools as schools of distinction for high overall performance. We are proud to be in the top 10% in this highest performing category.
At Center School, we have a solid foundation of instructional practices in literacy. Professional learning opportunities have allowed our teachers to refine practices that meet the needs of our readers and writers in a personalized workshop environment. With strong performance on standardized ELA measures, we continue to celebrate our accomplishments and push ourselves and our students to new levels. This success has instilled a love of reading and writing in all content areas across the building. We are proud of our mathematical accomplishments, consistently refining our instruction to achieve at high levels. The staff has put a great effort into continuing their professional learning and reflecting on student data to meet the needs of the individual. In a content area that requires setting a strong foundation and sequential growth towards mastering new concepts and skills, we have worked to build formative systems to help students and teachers immediately identify and address areas of need to support the growth of each learner. Over a 3-year period, we are very proud of a 20 percentage point growth in our high needs population in ELA. This is a testament to not only the strong programming and implementation with fidelity in reading and writing, but also the skill and support of our special education team. Using a multisensory approach, our skilled educators have moved students beyond the 1-year expected growth and set a foundation for continued success.
At EHMS, I'm proud to say that we are in our first full year of implementation of the Readers and Writers Workshop Model. Here you see EHMS students having a huddle. The structure of the workshop model allows for a common experience in all English language arts classes. This model of teaching provides units of study that inherently differentiate for students to allow them to access the content, build their skills, and ultimately find success. Last year, a great deal of effort and time was spent on refining the schedule to maximize our instructional minutes, and also to include a flex block. This building-wide time provides students the opportunity for enrichment, remediation, and whole school learning opportunities. On any given day, you can find over 50% of the population throughout the building exploring their passions through enrichment opportunities, while the rest are receiving help from their teachers and extending their learning. Learning targets. Learning targets guide teachers on what they are to teach and students on what they are to learn. Most important, teachers use learning targets to determine what behavior they should be looking for as students demonstrate their level of knowledge and skill. This daily communication allows for frequent assessment and review of student performance by teachers and self-reflection.
At East Hampton High School, we're incredibly proud of our successes. This year, we've had an increase in our advanced placement offerings through the implementation of advanced placement physics, advanced placement music theory, and advanced placement computer science. Additionally, we have an early childhood education course that students can earn credit at the University of Connecticut. 82% of our students that took AP exams earned a score of 3, 4, or 5 this year, which will allow them and afford them the opportunity to earn college credit. 97 students took 156 exams this past school year. In the past, East Hampton High School has been one of America's top high schools and has achieved honor roll status by the College Board. Our high school capstone project, where our students exemplify and show their learning of compassion, innovation, perseverance, and collaboration, is another one of our accomplishments. By the time the class of 2023, our current freshmen become seniors, this will be a graduation requirement of all students. In my mind, our most important and really proud accomplishment is our graduation rate, which is one of the highest in the state of Connecticut.
While it's easy to talk about successes, at the same time, on the opposite side of the coin, we often look at our critical academic needs as well in order to improve. So each building is going to go through what we consider their critical academic needs.
In the following slides, the photos are not of our students or their learning spaces, but what we feel our learners need. In order to best carry out the next generation science standards, our students deserve dynamic environments that support the engineering design process for hands-on experiences. The technological and creativity skills that we will grow through this science instruction are in high demand in the workforce and will be crucial to student success. We need to engage students in finding innovative solutions to problems and challenges in and out of the classroom. Our students must collaborate to guide their learning and develop informed opinions while analyzing content. East Hampton students will be contributing members of an ever-changing global society. Our instruction needs to prepare them for diverse populations. Through world language instruction, we can help them acquire another dialect and better understand various cultures. The peak age for language acquisition is 6 to 7 years old. Our students must consider and value diverse perspectives, cultures, and experiences in decision-making. We need to prepare them to participate and contribute as flexible, productive, and caring global citizens. Currently, there are over 1 billion native-speaking Chinese and 399 million Spanish-speaking people in the world. With international expansion of the job market, we need to prep our students to have global colleagues and feel connected to culture no matter the location. Memorial School would benefit greatly from increased opportunities for our students to work in teams, to investigate wonder, be imaginative, while growing confidence in a learning community. A robotics and coding environment is the perfect place for this to happen. 8 of the top 25 jobs this year are in tech positions. 7 million job openings in 2015 were in occupations that required coding skills, and programming jobs overall are growing 12% faster than the average market. Here's a photo of our learners during a second step lesson. Social emotional learning is the foundation of our learning community. Our youngest learners deserve this guaranteed instruction delivered by a highly qualified practitioner. Students participating in social emotional learning programs have improved classroom behavior, an increased ability to manage stress and depression, and better attitudes about themselves, others, and school. Social emotional programming can have a positive impact on students for up to 18 years. There are stats that are significant with the associations between SEL skills in kindergarten and key outcomes of young adults years later. This instruction decreased the likelihood of emotional distress and drug use.
While overall student achievement has been a success, the rate of growth for all learners is an area of need. We must move beyond traditional methods of teaching single algorithms and engage our students with high-tech manipulatives in an environment that inspires collaboration. Learning math through coding, solving complex problems, and engaging our students in math-centered discussions and debates is essential. We must make the statement, "I am just not good at math," extinct in our schools. Some of the world's most complex problems will need to be solved by this generation of students. To prepare our students for investigating and understanding the ever-changing world around them, we need to develop and inspire curiosity through changing what it means to be in an elementary classroom. Our students need to interact with the world around them in an authentic way, and instead of finding answers, we hope this process leads to more thought-provoking questions. We need to move beyond clubs that have limited space, participation, and supplies. Most career paths are sparked by a small inspirational moment. Our work is to create this environment for students each and every day to explore and take control of their learning. One day, this may be a virtual field trip to the Antarctic. The next, it is a group of students working in a community garden, providing food-to-table options for our lunches. All students deserve the right to pursue learning opportunities that push their limits as learners and our limits as a school.
This image is a reminder that this is not how our schools look nowadays, and it's also not how we teach. The days of drill and kill are over. We need to continue to build our practices around targeting our instruction for our learners. One such way is SRBI, otherwise known as Scientifically Research-Based Intervention. This is a program that supports our students that have gaps in their skills in reading and/or mathematics. This program has helped several students grow individually with their deficits in math and reading. However, in order to help our children in this program grow, we need to increase the structure and fidelity of the process from K-5 through K-8 now. Also, we need to develop avenues for information exchange between regular education classroom, SRBI, and support services to ensure that we are all working in the same direction to support our students' needs. This is in fact a slide of our actual building to help showcase the inadequate facilities and materials and why it is a struggle to implement strong NGSS practices. The HMS Science Lab of the future puts the students in control and all those tools in their fingertips to experiment, research, discover, and grow. Our lack of staffing has increased the amount of time students at EHMS are in study halls. Collectively, students will spend over 2.4 million minutes in study halls this year. We need to provide them more opportunities to learn and grow. One such opportunity would come through world language immersion. Immersion programs send students to see the world. This opens the doors to our students. Students that participate in immersion programs experience higher rates of employment at better jobs, increases in student literacy, and cognitive skill development. Another opportunity, more budget-friendly, not currently afforded to our students, are distant learning portals. Having staff available to utilize the technology we already have at our fingertips would greatly enhance the offering to our student body and open doors for our children. Offering only limited Spanish and French classes per week and eliminating world language from 6th grade, we are falling behind even our neighboring towns that offer sometimes up to 5 languages and multiple exchange and immersion programs. In a nationwide survey from Edutopia of 6th through 12th graders across the nation, student choice ranked high in results of what students valued most. And according to educational researcher Robert Marzano, choice has also been linked to increases in student effort, task performance, and subsequent learning. We have 4 electives at EHMS per year. With this limited base of opportunity, our students preparing to take on careers and positions that do not even exist yet, we need to provide them a much larger scope of experiences to help them find their passions and guide their future.
At East Hampton High School, our student performance is good, but it can and must be great for all of our students. East Hampton High School will return to being recognized as a top high school not only in Connecticut, but in the entire United States. Additionally, our students need more authentic learning experiences again for all students. The Capstone Project is a phenomenal first step, but what is needed is an ability for students to design and lead their own learning through an expansion of online and virtual learning for all students, where students have the opportunity to choose the subject in the area they want to experience. And finally, all students at East Hampton High School must be able to access higher level courses. This will afford them the opportunity and potential to earn higher level credits regardless of their plans after graduation, be it advanced placement, early college experience, career preparation, or work-based with a professional in their chosen field, such as manufacturing, which is a current need in the state of Connecticut. Our goal is that all students, and again I say all students, will leave East Hampton High School with at least 1 credit towards higher education upon graduation, as well as all students taking 1 online or virtual learning course prior to graduation from East Hampton High School.
In speaking to you tonight, I'm going to really give you 3 takeaways of the strengths of our district and 3 areas we feel we need to grow. In many ways, it will reinforce what you've heard from our building principals. We here in East Hampton know that the East Hampton Public Schools enjoys an intimate and close-knit setting for our students at each developmental level in a child's school life. It's one of our greatest strengths. Memorial School embraces the primary learner, as you heard tonight, Center, the intermediate learner, East Hampton Middle School, the middle level learner, and East Hampton High School, the student preparing for their transition to adulthood. We are fortunate to have these close-knit communities. Each of these academic programs supports a very specific time in the lives of the children of East Hampton. There are purposeful differences between our schools that reflect the needs of our students during that season of their school life and personal journey. That said, the East Hampton Public Schools has worked tirelessly to ensure district coherence in our academic programming from each child's entry point in kindergarten through their final days as a bell ringer at East Hampton High School. In fact, district coherence is one of our greatest strengths. It's a hallmark of our district and a reflection of alignment efforts over the last 5 years. Thoughtful, informed, and reflective decision-making has been employed to ensure a clear and focused direction to each grade level's academic programming, how it builds on the previous year and anticipates the next year. Our 4 schools are guided by common goals that make an impact on our ability to support each child's access to academic excellence in a school community that allows every child to thrive, as you heard tonight. This shared vision and focused direction is built on the collaborative culture of our faculty. Teams of teachers and administrators work together to ensure fidelity to our curriculum, to reflect on each learner's progress, and to plan next steps for instruction. This process is followed throughout our schools so that there is a seamless transition between these 4 buildings. We hold ourselves to the highest standards, ensuring equity for all students, maintaining internal accountability systems to monitor our progress, and aligning our work to meet the rigorous expectations of external accountability measures, including those from the Connecticut State Department of Education and the federal government. Clear K-12 expectations and alignment create coherence in our educational services and precision in our pedagogical approach to teaching and learning. This success reflects the efforts of the entire team of the East Hampton Public Schools. As we think about that system of teaching and learning, precision in our work and a surgical responsiveness to our students is made possible through our assessment systems. Carefully selected and developmentally appropriate assessments are utilized across the K-12 setting to inform individual teacher practices and to provide feedback to us on general trends amongst our student population. The East Hampton Public Schools has taken up the challenge to seek balance in our assessment system so that our teachers can have access to current and high-quality data, both qualitative and quantitative in nature, regarding student performance, while still fostering an environment and climate that is supportive of the whole child and their needs as an individual. In fact, high-quality and current data allows teachers to be responsive to the needs of each child and provide the most academic supports possible. Identifying areas for both skill building and enrichment, teachers engage in a cyclical process of analysis to inform instructional planning toward year-end goals for all learners. We consider this a huge success in our district. Excuse me. Another major continued area of growth and success in the East Hampton Public Schools is our articulation and alignment of curriculum across all content areas and all grade levels. It is our duty and responsibility to clearly state our goals for each grade level, content area, and course as informed by state and national standards. This work not only supports the reflective process of teaching that we described, but it provides transparency with our community regarding our practices and content in the classroom. An ongoing effort, a published curriculum across classrooms has had tremendous growth in the past 5 years, providing greater clarity to the students, teachers, and families invested in the East Hampton Public Schools. While we remain proud of our successes in these areas and our ongoing commitment to excellence for curriculum and instruction in our district, there are significant and critical areas that continue to need our attention and an equal seat at the table of teaching and learning. While we have made major efforts and gains in the areas of K-12 math and literacy instruction, gains reflected in our continued improvement on external assessment measures and our Connecticut State Department of Education Accountability Index, the report card for each school and district in the state. And we continue to produce schools of distinction in our district. Our students need a greater scope of guaranteed skills to be successful in the future workplace. You'll hear at this point sort of the broad scale summary of some things you heard from each of the buildings. First, we continue to lag behind districts in our region and across the state in the area of world language instruction. Drive to Glastonbury or East Haddam and you will find world languages offered at the elementary level. Magnet schools competing for our students offer Mandarin in the elementary school, preparing students for a global society and workplace. Students in the East Hampton do not approach world language until 7th grade, and then only as an introductory course. We are unable to provide students access to AP courses in world language at our high school due to our late introduction to world language at the middle level. We have literally taken steps backward in this area. World language was introduced earlier in this district when I was a student at East Hampton Middle School 30 years ago. Our students face a demand for language skills in the workplace and in life. Next, as you heard, the demands of the next generation science standards require schools to rethink how we provide instruction in the broad area of science. And they don't do this just to give us something else to do. They do this because it's a demand in the future, and now, really. An increased focus on explanation and modeling requires students to not just learn science, but to do science. Students are asked to engage with phenomena and generate their own driving questions in order to design experiments and communicate their findings. Students need access to STEM spaces that allow them the opportunity to engage with engineering practices, to develop their fundamental scientific knowledge, and to apply scientific thinking across the disciplines of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This is hands-on and minds-on learning, and it defies the traditional classroom setting. It requires consumable and flexible supplies to support student learning. I have to take a minute to acknowledge the hard work and passion and dedication of our teachers to develop their NGSS-aligned instructional practices. From our kindergarten teachers all the way to our high school science department and all related science areas, computer tech ed, all of our teachers have taken up the call to action to expand their instructional practices, to engage in professional learning, to collaborate as teams, and to give up their own time to further STEM instruction in our district. However, they can only go so far with their own learning. They need access to high-quality teaching spaces that support STEM instruction with resources that reflect current practice in the field. Our students face a demand for authentic problem-solving skills grounded in integrated science, technology, engineering, and mathematics content knowledge. While East Hampton students have access to committed teachers and administrators striving to deliver the best academic program to them each day, we continue to lack diversified, value-added programming. With limited clubs or exploratory opportunities at the elementary levels and limited elective course offerings at the middle and high school level, we are not keeping pace with a rich program of studies so often available to students in neighboring districts. For example, as Mr. Lehman shared, many middle schools offer choice in electives at the middle level, while our students remain in generic specials through 8th grade. Students at East Hampton High School often have to try many times to take a course supporting an area of passion, whether it's in our business department, family computer science department, or computer and technology education programming classes. These highly authentic environments have limited our offerings and large class sizes, if your student is lucky enough to get in them. Our students are eager to apply their learning in these courses, which provide the opportunity to explore professional pathways that inform their decision-making for post-secondary planning, including career and college placement. Our elementary students should have access to clubs and activities that grow their experience beyond the classroom as community members, scientists, mathematicians, artists, musicians, and communicators. Our 6th through 12th graders deserve access to courses that diversify and deepen their passions and their learning. Our students face a demand for skills fostered in a hearty offering of electives. The East Hampton Public Schools has developed strong systems that support teaching and learning in our core academic areas. We are therefore right to expand our offerings into critical areas of need, including world language, STEM programming, and electives that allow this deep and authentic learning and pathways to emerge for our students. Expansion of those areas will position our students for future success in a competitive and rapidly evolving society. These are no longer classes that are nice to have. They represent, as we said earlier, survival skills for our students.
So our final section tonight is looking at our schools 10 years into the future. The trouble with looking 10 years into the future is you can't wait till 2030 to start moving in this direction. You have to start moving in this direction now to be there for 2030. But if you go back to the profile, here's what we believe. East Hampton students will make healthy, ethical decisions. Now that seems commonplace, but our world is complex. Our society is complex. We cannot take for granted that our students will just on their own develop the skills to make ethical decisions and healthy decisions. And that's why the word compassion, responsibility, empathy, and caring become such critical terms for our students. In fact, let me tell you what we're doing now. In 2017, we really began a campaign in all 4 schools to make kindness and caring common. We decided in 2018 to share that kindness throughout the schools and throughout our community. And this year we are focusing on a community of caring teachers, caring students, and caring schools. We're focusing on the 6 pillars of character in our advisory periods and making sure that our students understand that they play critical roles in their futures and this country's futures. Another issue that we're dealing with is we are training our staff to be equipped in youth mental health first aid. If you've read any of my updates, right now 1 in 4 teens will deal with some sort of mental illness or mental health concern. And we're working very hard to train our staff. We already have between 20 and 30 staff members who have taken an 8-hour course in youth mental health first aid. Our students' issues are just becoming more complex, and we as a school are going to be prepared to deal with that. As we move back to the notion of our students making ethical decisions and being ready for that type of leadership role, we will, by 2030, write curriculum that addresses complex, authentic issues that are local, national, or global. So they'll deal with authentic problems, local problems, national problems, world problems in their classes, solving issues. Our science classes, I'm hoping that an East Hampton student in 2030 solves the issue of the lake, and that's what our kids should be working on in their science class. Next, drop down 1 category of the profile of the graduate. East Hampton students are going to learn in reimagined classrooms. The classroom is going to change dramatically by 2030. We brag about our grade 8 mini capstone and our high school capstone, but we're going to now move to capstone learning. It's not going to be a project that students wait 8 years for or wait 12 years for. Capstone-style learning will be commonplace in all 4 schools. So we will lose classroom walls where they are not meant to be. So please don't walk out here saying, oh my God, we're going to have another renovation of the 4 schools. We can do everything we need to do in these buildings by 2030. We just have to change our adult behavior to make sure we're providing the types of experiences for students. Here's the experiences that they need. We know we're going to have to deal with the layout of the classroom, and instead of moving from period to period to period, moving from math to science to English to art to band, we need to find a way to connect those in real authentic terms for students. None of us spend our day, unless you're a teacher, or some of us, moving from one project for 45 minutes to the next project for 45 minutes to a completely different project for 45 minutes. The way the business world is, our students are going to need to work as high-powered teams solving complex problems. Virtual reality will find its way into our schools. It's already in schools. We need to find a way to get it into our schools. Flexible classwork, flexible projects, and online learning by 2030 will be commonplace. Let me tell you what I mean by the layout of the classroom. Students will drop into the learning centers that they need. I'm working on a project, I may spend 2 weeks in a science lab, but I may need to go to a math center. I may need to go to a research center. I may need to do research. I will be able to drop into those learning centers in 2030. I won't have to wait till period 4 to have time to get to do research, or period 2 if I need help with math. Virtual reality. We will have a virtual reality lab. We won't need computer labs anymore because students will have one-to-one devices. When students go to a lab for a computer, we'll be talking about putting on the virtual reality headset and traveling to Antarctica or traveling to the Great Wall of China through virtual reality. Flexible classwork, whoops, I pushed too far ahead, sorry. Flexible classwork, every student will be prepared for a month-long or semester internship, business internship, work internship, manufacturing internship, or some sort of world exchange. There's no reason why our students should not be prepared to spend a year or a semester in China, in India, in Africa, or in England. And I'm sorry, online learning, you already heard Mr. Verner talk about this as a future graduation requirement. Every one of our students, no later than 2030, will be required to take an online course or pass a course with a digital badge or a MOOC. If you don't know what a MOOC is, it's a massive open online course. They're free. You can take one right now. Go to Yale's website, type in MOOC and Yale, and you'll see these courses that are just open enrollment courses. There's usually about 500,000 people from around the world signed up for these courses. Our students should have access to that. We should give them the time to access those courses. Here's what the future of learning looks like. That equipment, and Rich Fielding, this is the Rich Fielding slide, because he's saying, oh, let me know when you're ready. I'll order that equipment. We'll get that going immediately. That's not 2030. That's available to us in the very near future. Let's move on. We want to make sure that our students are creative and persistent problem solvers because the world issues, the local issues, the national issues that they will deal with in 2030, they're complex. They have to be able to stick it out. So we've talked about our 19 days. In fact, I'm wearing my pin. Most of the faculty wear their pins or else wear them on their ID lanyards. We're promoting a growth mindset in our students because they need the grit to stick things out. Here's another concern. We can't move backwards. The mental health crisis in teens is being magnified by the loss of creativity in our schools. We have to make sure that we're not moving backwards in our creative offerings. Most of you know that I've traveled to China several times. I've been to at least 10 different Chinese schools. This is a document that if you would like a copy of it, even though it says copyrighted material at the top, it was free to download. I have a PDF of it. It's about 430 pages. Don't print. If I send it to you, if you want it, just email me, let me know. It's a plan from the government of China. Now, we benefit from local control of education. The country of China does not. Education around and for the 300 million students in China is determined for the most part, about 90% by the national government. They have made a commitment, and I love the education section. They are going to make sure that by 2030, their students excel at creativity. When I do exchanges with China, we're always intrigued, how come your math scores are so good? And they look at me like, we want our kids to be more like your kids because your students are creative problem solvers. That's what we want for our students. So we're kind of moving in opposite directions. We've become so focused on testing while the country of China is like, we're burdened with this testing, but our goal by 2030 is not only to make sure that our students excel, but they excel in creativity. In 2030, creativity will be a commodity. Our students should be ready for that experiences. So we will make sure by 2030 that we are giving students multiple opportunities in music, art, graphics, theater, movement, dance, at every grade level, and incorporate them into the day. So it's not just 45 minutes a day, it's an important part of every activity that they do. And I'm unabashedly standing here and saying East Hampton students are going to be future leaders. Why should we not believe that the students of this community will be the leaders locally, will be the leaders nationally, and will be world leaders? That's what we're going to prepare them for. We're proud of our state kid governor. We're going to make sure that our students are prepared to be the next second governor from East Hampton down the road. And we're going to do it we're going to create leaders that understand how to solve problems. Whether it's design thinking or other ways, we're going to let our students experience what it is that leaders do to look at things differently and solve complex problems. And then we've got to make sure that East Hampton students are prepared for careers of the future. Our graduates, they come back and they tell us they are very well prepared for college. But we've got to keep moving. We've got to make sure that our students, like I said, are very involved in internships, that we have strong mentoring programs in school and out of school. Here's a fact. 63% of jobs will require soft skills. I hate the term soft skills because business uses that word, it's kind of stuck. But these are the skills of our profile of the graduate. We don't call them soft skills here. I like Tony Wagner, who calls them survival skills. But by 2030, 63% of jobs will require those skills. So we will make sure that we stress the skills that computers and artificial intelligence will not be able to do. We'll make sure that our students are prepared for the jobs that exist. I know this is a little hard to read, but the best jobs for students of the future will be the roles that are interactive, roles that involve caregiving, roles that involve teaching, and obviously we've talked about creativity and leadership. Here's a stat from Microsoft. 65% of today's students will move into careers that have not yet been created. I went to a site and I Googled from a site that indicates for students which college they should go to and which programs they should major in for careers of the future. So I just wrote down some of the careers of the future. Commercial space pilot, extinct species revivalist, alternative energy consultant, organ body part creator, mind transfer specialist or memory surgeons, 3D printed food engineers, and I had one that I actually had to erase today. Sunday's Hartford Courant talked about the rise of the digital detox business. I had one of the future careers as digital detox counselor. Those people that are so addicted to digital things that they need a counselor to get them out of it. It exists. I am to take it off the slide because it's already come to fruition. By the way, the article next to it was the fact that UCLA just got a $20 million donation to open up a kindness institute to research kindness. That's where the future is. The future is in compassion. I wish they had donated $20 million for us to study kindness. And then this was my favorite one, the robotic landfill worm operator. In the future, our landfills are loaded with minerals that ultimately these little robotic worms are going to go through and extract for us. Take stock. If you hear of this coming around, invest now. And like I said, there are websites that currently list the best colleges and the best majors to pursue. It's absolutely amazing when you go to like Columbia's website. They listed a couple of these, the neuroscience program. They're looking at memory surgeons and memory analytics because they figure the future of the human race is understanding its consciousness and how we can better survive on this planet. Encourage your children to go to these websites and just look at the future careers that are out there. So, our students' futures are in the hands of this community. There was also an article in today's Hartford Current on the state of Connecticut being the 12th highest as far as relying on local taxes to pay for education. And so when we come down to it, in a number of different ways, East Hampton students' futures are in the hands of this community. So I'm urging you to get involved in a project. Many of you have seen our document, East Hampton 2025. We talked about it, giving birth to the profile of the graduate. We've decided that as a result of this, we really need to update our school vision. And so we're going to move from East Hampton 2025 to East Hampton 2030. So you'll be getting a survey. We would love you to be on the committee. I know a lot of people in this room were on the committee that developed East Hampton 2025. And our goal is to make sure that we're opening doors to our children's future. And that would be our drive for East Hampton 2030. We're going to use a model that's for modern learners. We know we have our beliefs, but we've got to start talking about the contexts and the practices that make those beliefs come alive. We've started doing that in the fact that we're assessing every skill of the profile of the graduate. Urge you to come to a Board of Ed meeting in May when the principals bring their assessments from their teachers, showing how we're actually assessing these in the classroom. So that's fascinating for us to really make sure that throughout a child's experience, we are guaranteeing the acquisition of those skills. We're not assuming that students will master these skills. We're going to purposefully design assessments so that students get the experience practicing those skills. We're literally going to create the future. This is our students a couple years ago when we first got the Chromebooks at the middle school. So this is all of us in this room. I'm hoping that you'll help us create the future by imagining exciting and ennobling possibilities for our students. But I warn us, in the year 2030, there's going to be a divide in education. Students will be divided into those who are specifically prepared to meet the demands of new challenges, new careers, new technologies, and new opportunities, and those who are not. Anybody that's heard me speak at convocation or at board meetings, 2030 is the year that futurists are saying is a pivotal year in this century. It will be the peak of climate concerns, it will be the peak of global concerns, it will also be the advent of virtual learning, self-driving cars, even though I hope I never have one of those. I say that now, but in 10 years we'll all be driving self-driving cars, I guess. I shouldn't say driving self-driving cars, we'll be all inserting ourselves in self-driving cars. This is the technology that our second graders have to understand and be able to use. So, by 2030, we are saying that the East Hampton Public Schools will be the best equipped school district in the state in order to prepare students for a future that right now, like I said with self-driving cars, I can't imagine it. Our students will live in that time period. So I thank you very much for coming, and I hope you in this audience realize how much the state of our schools and the state of our children are in your hands. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to turn the program back over to our chairperson of the board. I know he has a couple of comments, and then we will open this up for public comment.
Wow, that was a lot to take in. But this is my chance to brag about our schools and the staff that we have here. Many of you know that have been to our meetings, I brag about the board and our staff constantly. The work that they do and what was just presented makes our job on the Board of Ed enjoyable and easy to do. The vision, the dedication they have throughout all the schools, unbelievable. A couple of the words stuck out to me, again, going through the profile of the graduate. Imagination and collaboration. We talk about as a community, how are we going to move forward? And that quote from Wagner, I wrote it down, It's what you can do with what you know. So now we know where we need to be, and what are we as a community going to do to get there? That's the question. So, as Paul said, I want to open it up to public comments. Anyone, feel free, come on up. Anything you have in relation to what was just presented, ideas, thoughts. At this time, as we said earlier, we're not going to get into the question answer, but if you have a question, please, you can email Paul, Mary, myself, any of the school. Be happy to answer any questions you have. So this is also an opportunity for any candidates in the upcoming election to make any statements. So come on up, introduce yourself, feel free. Board members, anyone want to start with a comment? Not yet. Nancy does, come on up.
Good afternoon to everybody. Hi, I'm Nancy Oakley. I'm a Board of Education member currently. I filled a vacancy almost 2 years ago, and I'm actually running in November for election for a 4-year seat. I did not see the presentation before tonight, so just like you, it was all new to me, so I just jotted down some notes. I don't have anything prepared, but just some things that stuck out to me as a board member to share with you is, for me as a parent, in past years, I guess I haven't really seen this level of consistency and leadership. Thank you. This profile of the graduate, starting with our youngest learners all the way up, is magnificent to me because it's not separate buildings anymore. Once you leave Memorial, you're done with that. You're looking at a consistent message leading to what results with our graduates and what they'll be able to do when they graduate. And I was thinking to myself, looking at those values, those are people that I want to work with. Those are people I want to volunteer with. Those are people I want to be my neighbors. These are people I want my children to be. And that to me that's so personal. It's not just talking about, what can we do for students? These are people, our clients basically, our customers, our people, little people, that start at such a young age and are ready at 17, 18 when they graduate to go out into the world and to equip them with those skills, not only to recite back facts and figures. Education just isn't like that anymore. It's teaching people how to think, how to work together. Everybody who works, volunteers, does anything in the world knows how valuable those things are. So that struck me. I think in looking at this presentation and hearing everybody talk, we are so close. We're so close. We're on the cusp of greatness in this town. We have the leadership. We have systems put in place. We're almost there. We just can't slip back anymore. We've got to go forward. And part of that is providing the resources that we need in order to provide these programs to our kids and allow them to achieve these things as graduates. So I personally would love to continue my work on the Board of Education, where we work all together for a common goal. And I would love to continue that. So thank you very much for coming tonight and for informing yourself, on what is happening and seeing the excitement of where we can go. So thank you very much.
Anyone else want to comment?
Good evening, my name is Richard Brown. I currently chair the Board of Finance, and I want to commend our administration for their vision and dedication. It's truly remarkable. As a member of the Board of Finance, I want to assure you that we will do our best to support and enable your future endeavors. We have a lot of responsibilities in this town, tugging us in different ways. But again, be assured that we'll support you to the best of our ability. Thank you.
So hello everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Wesley Jenks. I'm actually a graduate of East Hampton High School. Really proud to hear what's going on. Also, going to keep it short, but extremely sort of disappointed that the extracurriculars that I had when I was a student are no longer available. I'm going to be running for Board of Finance. I think most people know that I'm an advocate for the lake mostly, but I see that as very important for our students. I remember all the extracurricular I did, like art and science and wood shop and automotive class, and you know, it's great that the lowest level schools have these things, but it should carry through all the way. Definitely, if I get elected, I think that would be something that we need to allocate some resources and make sure everyone has that. And also, you know, we have a meeting here tonight for an aeration system for the lake, so I'm hoping the current people involved in the community, maybe we can beat the current students to fixing that problem, so that's one of my goals. So that meeting is at 6:30 here tomorrow, so if anybody's interested in attending, it should be very interesting. Everblue Lakes is the name of the company, so if you can't attend, you can actually research what this gentleman's doing, Mr. Tucci, so it should be an interesting night. So thanks for all your hard work, and hopefully we can get some more choices for our students here in East Hampton.
Hi, my name is Jim Radovich. I'm running for a Republican position on the Board of Education this fall. I just wanted to introduce myself and let you guys know that I'm a proud parent of two 2016 East Hampton graduates. So my son Kevin and Renee, who benefited tremendously from their experiences here at school, especially Mrs. Dean, and I was hoping to see if she's here to let her know that my son Kevin will be advancing his career with a position in New York Life and selling financial services and life insurance. He has a job already lined up, and I wanted to thank her. She was a big influence on my son selecting his career, so I was hoping to see her tonight, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm a fiscal conservative. I enjoy the town here. I'm very financially aware through my work at the Consolidated Industries in Cheshire, and I'm very proud to be part of the organization. I want to maximize the amount of money we spend, and I'm very kind of a hawk on budgetary items and line by line financing, and I hope to be part of the community here. I'm very looking forward to hopefully being elected and be part of the great Board of Education here in East Hampton. Thank you very much.
My name is Amy Ordonez, and I am actually also a graduate of the East Hampton school system. I am sandwiched in between Mrs. Clark and Mr. Goff. I also am raising 3 children in this town. I have 2 cheetahs right now at Memorial School and 1 lion. Next year I will have children in 3 out of the 4 schools in East Hampton. It was a lot of information to kind of metabolize, and I am so impressed, even as an involved parent, the thoughtfulness that has gone into creating these systems and the vision for our students is just absolutely incredible. I know that the leadership and that the teaching is excellent in this town. As I've been campaigning, that is the consistent thing that I've been hearing. Our teachers and our administrators are incredible, but they lack the tools. The town lacks the tools to get us into the future and to educate our children for careers that I just didn't even imagine. I also find it really sad that, like Wes, there are things that are not being offered that I was offered, advantages that I had that enabled me to go to the college of my choice, open a business in our town, and be a pretty, involved, not only parent, but citizen. And so those are things that I think that we really need to focus on. And as a member of the Board of Education, I think my main goal would be to get that information out to the general public. I think everybody here is pretty excited about what we heard tonight, but we need to figure out a way to bridge that disconnect between what is happening in our schools so that the citizens of our town understand that this isn't just good for our students, it's good for our town, it's good for our future. So I wanted to just again thank everybody, and I look forward to hopefully serving on the Board of Education. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Bob Hine, and for those of you who don't know, I approach this whole thing from a little different point of view than the average person, in that I work consistently as a substitute teacher in the school system here. So I get to see the inside of the works as you may consider it. Going through some of the things I saw there, I have a few comments to make. In June of 2018, my son and I were part of a group of 41 that went with Paul Smith to China. And when we were in China, we were amazed by, first of all, the size of the country in terms of people. They have 1.3 billion people. We have the 0.3 billion here. So we're outnumbered by roughly 1 billion people. They're spending a huge amount of money on infrastructure, education, etc. The way things look right now, if I had to place my bet, I'd say in 50 years, they'll be on top of the world, it looks like. We have to shape up a bit, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get ahead of us, and they will do it. When there was a picture of the globe up there, it was interesting that the globe view that we looked at was of Asia. I just took that as a little hint of what we need to do in world language in this school, in our school system. If there was anything we needed to add world language, we should seriously consider adding Mandarin Chinese as one of our future offerings. It may not be possible right now, but it's something we have to consider. This school system, from what I've seen in the 7 years I've been subbing up here, has 3 great factors in its behalf. 1 is the administrators, 2 is the teachers, and the 3rd is the students. They are all very good to work with and for. We are getting our money's worth out of the staff at all levels. The money is being spent well. We have to keep that in consideration. 54 years ago, I was a senior in high school. And the difference between what I went through learning and versus what we do today, of course, it's a night and day thing. Earlier this school year, I spent a week with a French teacher for a couple of periods a day. And the way they teach French versus the way we learned a foreign language years ago, it's much more effective. There was talk about the empathy and compassion. I have never did I see before the level of compassion I see with these kids here in this high school and down in junior high, or middle school, show my age when I say junior high. A couple of years ago, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, the high school seniors en masse elected 2 of the kids from the special ed group as a prom king and queen. Something that never would have even considered happening when I was in school. And it was a very touching moment. In 2030, 10 years from now, well, 11, depending on how you want to count it, in 2030, I expect, I'll be 82 years old, but I'm scheduled to sub for Jackie Russell that year when she goes as a chaperone to the Washington trip again. I took a look at my crystal ball, Jackie, and you're going and I'll be here. There was also a thing about East Hampton students' futures are in the hands of the community. Actually, I think there's a little bit of reverse of that. The hands of the future of this community, this state, this country, is basically in the hands of our students. They're not going to be running it in 10 years, but it's not going to be long after that. They're going to be calling the shots. And we want them totally prepared to do the job. They have the ability, we need to give them a little bit more training, some experience. They are going to be our senators, our president, governors, surgeons, lawyers, doctors, everything. And a lot of that starts right here, and it's our job as citizens of this town to make sure that we give them the base they need to work. And by the way, I am running for the Board of Finance. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Tanya K-Sones and I'm a candidate for the Board of Education. I've been living in East Hampton for 6 years and I have 2 boys, one in middle school and one in high school. And some of you may know I've been heavily involved in just the budget process and education for the past 5 years. So first I want to thank the superintendent and the administration for this presentation. And I wanted to thank you for allowing the candidates to comment as well. I agree with Amy when she said that we're on the right path and we need the appropriate support to get us there. And that means voting for candidates that support your own point of view for the Town Council, Board of Finance, and Board of Education. So in reviewing what I want to briefly comment about today, I wanted to talk about what goes into education, including some of the main components. I equate owning a home to operating a school in a sense. So with any home in New England, you have core components. You have a roof, you have windows, hopefully a furnace to keep you warm in the winter. And with every home, there's maintenance that needs to be done yearly. Or when your roof leaks, well, you have to fix it. If it's a small hole, then perhaps you could just patch it up. But if you never patch up that hole, it'll get bigger and bigger until eventually you have to replace the roof. So with operating a school, it's pretty similar. You have those core components, and I'll just pick a couple. I'll pick out textbooks and classroom teachers. Of course, students too. So the same thing happens with maintenance. Sometimes you have to replace textbooks. Sometimes you have to evaluate what programs you're offering to be in alignment with the state's mandates or objectives. So while the topics are different, essentially the exercise is the same. I want to draw your attention to something that was mentioned at one of the more recent Board of Ed meetings and make a simple correlation. To make a very long story short, we fall short of maintaining the resources that we have. You'll notice in the middle school that there is supposed to be a one-to-one technology implemented for the 6th grade students. You have to remember, school is different now than when we went to school. These days, Chromebooks are textbooks. But you'll notice that the current 6th grade class do not have their own textbooks, aka Chromebooks. So, how did this happen? I'm not going to be very popular by saying this. But this past year, a motion was made and passed by a majority of the town council members to eliminate $300,000 from the education technology from the capital improvement plan. And what this means is that none of the voters got the chance to voice their opinions on that money. And what were some of the consequences to that? One of them was the 6th grade students did not get their Chromebooks. So you may say to yourself, well, what's the big deal? They can get them next year. Well, if the trend continues to happen, there will be no continued funding for the technology. Then what grade doesn't get a Chromebook next year? 7th, 8th graders? And in addition, I believe the perception for when the Board of Ed asks for this money to catch up and then needs money to maintain teachers' technology or needs to upgrade other grade students' textbooks, Chromebooks, sorry. Well, the Board of Ed will be perceived as being greedy when they're simply trying to catch up from previous years. Just because this year's taxes were kept lower, it's deceiving. It will have a compounding effect in the years to come because our roof is leaking. And the hole will only get bigger and bigger until one day we're going to ask for that roof. And we can't continue down this path. And you know what the ironic thing is we had a second chance. We had a second chance because when Hartford finalized the state budget, East Hampton was due to get back $150,000 from ECS funding that was not anticipated. So when the Board of Ed wrote a letter asking for $36,000 to fund the 6th grade Chromebooks, the request was denied and never even considered. That's disappointing. So the second core component I just want to touch on really quick are the classroom teachers and the students. Did you know in 2014 compared to 2019, we had 8 more classroom teachers back in 2014 than we do today. And you even heard today, we have less than a 1% decrease in student population, but we have 8 less teachers in the classroom. But what you did hear today is we have more study halls in the middle school due to lack of staffing. We don't have world language offered at the 6th grade. So I'm telling you this not to be negative, but just to bring awareness to you and to provide you with a couple of action steps, actually 5. So if you're thinking, well, how can I get more involved? Here are some even easy ways. First, if you don't receive the superintendent's weekly update, make sure you're on his list. He sends them every Monday, 8 a.m., approximately 8 a.m. Grab a cup of coffee, take 5 minutes, and honestly, he highlights all the important meetings. So email psmith@easthamptonct.org to get on this mailing list. Second, like the East Hampton Public Schools Facebook page for announcements. Again, the important messages will be there as well. Third, if you're concerned about the $300,000 in education technology capital, ask your current town council members why they chose to eliminate them. You have every right to ask. They represent you. 4, know your candidates before you vote in November. Contact them, reach out to them, and please remember to vote. And 5, one of the most important ones as well, is to vote in the yearly budget referendum. It usually happens around the May timeframe. I can talk all day about awareness and attending meetings, but unless you vote, honestly, it's not going to mean anything. I'm just one person. The Board of Ed, they're just made up of 9 members. But we have about 12 or 13,000 members of this community who all have a stake in quality education. I hope what you take away is just be aware, take action, and make sure to vote. Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Kurt Komeski, and I'm also running for Board of Education. And I just want to first make it short, I want to thank the administration. I was really impressed and truly support the emphasis on technology. And as I look to the students and they become more of our community later, technology is changing, and I think the speed of change is accelerating. And that change also goes to how we interact with ourselves. Like with Facebook, it's been my experience that people are talking less to each other and are more communicating via writing, Facebook and postings and other social media, which I really don't know that much about. But we're kind of losing that, but we have to realize that the whole world is changing and we have to address it and how we all work together. And I really do appreciate that you're acknowledging that we're in for some significant changes and how do we all work together. Thank you.
Thank you again to the administrators, to all the staff. I know there's a lot of staff members here. I know your input, your work went into this program as well and for where we need to be in the future. So at this time, we're going to end this part of the presentation. The board does have some items on our agenda we need to continue. So we are going to exit and cross the hall to the T-Bell to continue our meeting. You are more than welcome to come join us if you want to sit for our meeting. Otherwise, thank you for coming. Have a good evening.
you stand up.